meet and abate every single noise issue. So that's my promise.
You do a great job.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Now
Moving on to 517 Q Street Northwest. This is a request for support for zoning relief for construction of a new 3-unit residential building. Time to get on that horse. You need the microphone? Oh, okay. Thank you.
You know, Mary is absolutely right. I mean, just because you have your own meeting doesn't mean that.
So what can happen if we don't like you? Oh, goodness. Did you give us this yesterday?
The next presentation is beginning, so if you're leaving, please exit the room as quietly as you can. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Lila Batiste. I'm a partner with the law firm of Pollock & Knight. Here representing my client and friend, actually, Simone Goring and her husband, Rich Devaney, in connection.
Speak up, please.
Sure. Let me use the microphone. Representing them in connection with the redevelopment of their property at 517 Q Street Northwest. We filed an application with the BZA on October 28th, really to redevelop the site, which was approved with a two-story row house.
Dimitri has the clicker.
Oh. It was approved with a two-story row house that collapsed in February of last year. They're looking to redevelop the site with, the multifamily structure that includes a unit at the cellar level, then a one-story unit on the first level of the building, and then followed by a two-story unit on the second and third levels of the building. The site itself is a non-conforming site. The site was originally developed back in the 1800s, late 1800s. So it is a non-conforming site in terms of its size and width. It does not have access to the property from the rear. There's no alley to the rear. And as a result of those conditions, we need a variance to redevelop the site with the multifamily structure. So the variances that we're seeking are lot coverage variance. We're at a lot coverage of 76%, where the regulations permit a lot coverage of 60%. We need a variance for the side yard. We're proposing a side yard of 3 feet, where the regulations require almost 10 feet. We are not able to provide any off-street parking, so we're seeking a variance to have 0 off-street parking where 1 space is required. And then we need a special exception approval to have the roof structure to be adjacent to the eastern wall of the building, where it's required to have a 1-to-1 setback. The standard of review for this type of application is practical difficulty with the special conditions that I've described that pertain to the property. It is in fact impossible for the Devaneys in this case to meet the requirements of the zoning regulations because of the unique condition and size of the property. Redeveloping the site with the proposed structure will not create any adverse impacts because in fact the properties on either side of them are now multi-structure or multi-unit structures as well. And so the project is designed as in keeping with the scale and the type of development on either side of them. So with that, I'm going to close. We are seeking the ANC's recommendation of approval. The application was filed in October 28th. We don't have a hearing date confirmed yet, but we think it might be in January of this year, 2015. So.
awful lot of relief for a tiny little lot.
Yes.
That's what happens when you've got these non-conforming lots from the 19th century. This property is in Commissioner Chapel's single-member district.
Was there a committee report?
Yeah, Simone came last night to committee and with a vote of 2-1 in favor of supporting her request. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was the other.
That was the other one.
Before me.
Got it. Okay. 3-0 to support. Kevin, I'm sorry.
I move that ANC 6E support Simone Goring and Richard Devaney's application for zoning relief at the 517 Q Street Northwest location, and we communicate our support to the BZA.
Can we ask questions?
I'll second the motion. Questions?
So Kevin, I mean, it's always a big deal with a lot occupancy and the parking. So what did your constituents say about those two things?
Well, this is a non-conforming lot. It's impossible to put any parking on the site. There's no alley in the back. To develop this, parking would be required. And all the constituents I've talked to in the neighborhood around there, they are notified of it also by the BZA, and they have every opportunity to express their opposition to this. And
But they're okay with the 70, because that's always like a big surprise, like after the fact, like, oh, the lack of secret, it's like, okay, you missed the vote. So I mean, they don't, just so that they're aware, because that has come up in my area, so that
Thank you
they're
for your
fine.
concern.
I'm just saying, if that was after construction starts, and then they say, why is this bigger than I think it should be? So,
I find that strange that now you're concerned about parking.
no, I'm asking about the lot variance.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I mean, this has come up before when you had no concern about that in the past.
If I may, the lot occupancy in this case, we're exceeding the required lot, or maximum lot occupancy in order to build units that comply with the building code in terms of the width. So it is a function of, again, the lot size and being able to construct units that comply with the building code. So.
Other questions on the part of the commission? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
1811 Wilberger Street. Requesting support for zoning relief for construction of a third-story addition on an existing single-family residence.
Good evening, everybody. My name is David Ruddy, and I'm here with my wife, Bonner Ely. We live at 1811 Wiltberger Street, which is in an alley right down across the street from the Wonder Bread factory there. It's between 6th and 7th on S Street, also in the alley that was around the corner from the Shaw Howard Theater. And we are asking, we have filed an application with the Board of Zoning to ask for an area variance because we are interested in putting on a third floor. And we need an area variance because this building was non-conforming. It was built in the early 1900s, and it has a 90% lot coverage. And the existing zoning says a 60% lot coverage is the maximum. So in order for us to put a third floor we're asking for, we need to ask for an area variance to meet that standard because we're already at 90% because the lot is so small. Now you'll see we're in the yellow house here, and they're really one-bedroom row houses. And we argue that the reason we are entitled to area variance is because there's this property has special conditions requiring us to have the third, to seek the variance. The special conditions are that there is it's very narrow. It's 12 feet, 12 and a half feet wide, and R4 zoning is 18 feet. So we're much smaller than the minimum. Also, there's a stairway that runs from the second floor to the third floor and goes nowhere. So there's a stairway in the house when it was built in the 1900s that literally leads to nowhere. So we use it for storage and put our travel bags up there, but we could make use of that stairwell if we were able to put the third floor on. We've asked our neighbors on this side, and they have letters of support granting us. We've also verbally talked to our neighbor on the left, and he has agreed with us that he is in agreement and supports our project. And we have another letter of support from a neighbor on the right side. So the point is, the reason we need the area variance is because any addition you would make to this property would require a variance because of the area regulation, because we're already over 60%. So we're not increasing the lot coverage at all. It's still going to be 90, but we need the area variance in order to put the third floor on. And for that reason, we ask support of the neighborhood commission for our application that will be before the BZA. I think we have a hearing date in January.
So you're not the only property owner on that block that is interested in doing this, so you're the guinea pigs, and they'll be the beneficiaries of your having gone first. Ms. Maceda?
Yeah, they came before the committee last night, and we voted to approve their idea and to request that support be given for their application. It was a 3-0 in favor vote. And we said we're going to put a little beer garden up on the roof, right? Oh, it was a hot tub.
Yes,
Okay,
hot
your
tub.
neighbors are going to do the beer garden.
I think so.
Okay. All right, we're cool.
This property is in Commissioner Chapel, single-member district.
Yes, I've met with the applicants and they've shown me their plans, and also all the neighbors on this very unique block is supportive of their plans. And as Commissioner Padro said, there's other neighbors who want to do the exact same thing. That said, I move that ANC 6E support the application for zoning relief and the addition of a third floor to the existing single-family residence at 1811 Wilberger Street, and we communicate our support to the BZA.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion on the part of the commission? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much. 1330 Fifth Street Northwest. Request for support for zoning relief to construct an addition in the form of a deck at the rear of the property in that location.
You guys love the church treatment. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Justin Kitch. I've lived at 1330 Fifth Street with my wife since 2005. We're seeking an area variance to put a back deck on our property. It would cover two concrete parking spot, or a concrete parking pad with two spots. We're not looking to add any interior square footage, but because it's a deck, we still would need to go through the variance request. We have the approval of our property owner neighbor to the north side. We have the approval of our tenants, a letter of support,
you mentioned, just talking about a few things, so we do require an area variance and relief on the rear yard setback. So what we're doing is just aligning the deck with the neighboring buildings so that we're in keeping with the context of the neighborhood.
All right. Any questions on the part of any commissioners related to this?
So without the variance, your deck would have to be smaller, I think. That's what the
That is correct.
variance is. How much more space is the variance allowing?
Which was the thing? So the rear yard setback, I'll give context here. This is the deck that we're proposing, and this is the existing house. And this is the neighboring building. So the rear yard setback would put the deck kind of somewhere in this vicinity.
Okay.
So it makes it sort of unusable. We were trying to design a deck that has space for a table and chairs and also a space for food prep. So our cue was the existing building that has already gone beyond the setback.
Is that because the city requires a certain percentage of the yard to be uncovered?
Yeah, it's part of the lot occupants, or yeah, lot coverage, that's right. So 60% is the maximum.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this site is in Commissioner Wiggins' single-member district.
I have met with Justin in their home, he and his wife, and I have reviewed the plans. I've had several questions answered, and at this present time, I am in favor of already giving him my approval for the zoning relief. So at this time, offer the motion.
Sure.
At this time, I want to offer the motion that ANC 6E support the request for zoning relief for 1330 Fifth Street on behalf of Justin and Becky Kirsch.
That we communicated to the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Thank you. And we committed to the Board of Zoning.
I'll second. All right. Marge, I neglected to ask for the committee report, if you'd be so kind.
Yeah, these guys came before committee last night as well, and I believe it was a 3-0 vote. Everybody was in favor of supporting for the deck to be built onto the back of the house.
All right, any further questions from members of the commission? Anything from the public? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. So now we've gone through all of the development cases. We now have a community impact statement related to sentencing 3 individuals who were involved in the March 11, 2015 North Capitol shooting. So we'll turn to our Public Safety Committee Chair, Mr. Williams, for this.
Could I make just one comment before we start, Frank? I would publicly like to thank Martin, who has written these statements for us over the last, at least a year, I guess, close to a year, right? And he spent a lot of hours doing these and meeting with the attorneys, the prosecutors, and coming up with letters that really say what needs to be said. And I personally would like to thank you and give you support in any way I can to help you in the future.
Actually, Marge, you stole my introduction.
Sorry about that. I mean, I've been meaning to do this for a while, but
Yes,
it just...
indeed. Martin has done a fantastic job keeping us apprised of what is taking place, especially when it comes to community impact statements. It's very important that we have community impact statements written on behalf of the ANC because so much crime does take place in our area, and the CIS actually gives us the opportunity to have a voice while the court cases are taking place or while the sentencing takes place. These 3 gentlemen, Mr. Andrew Allen, Keith Bob, Arnell Smith, all were arrested. They carried a Taurus 9mm semi-automatic pistol shooting on North Capitol Street. So the sentencing will take place on tomorrow. Martin has been working with the USA Attorney Office all this week and prior to this week. So we really, again, I want to repeat, thank you for all the hard work that you do because you definitely do a fantastic job keeping us apprised of all of these things that are taking place. Oftentimes we wouldn't know it if you wouldn't bring it to our attention. So we do want to thank you for all that you do for the Public Safety Committee as well as the ANC 6E, so we definitely appreciate it. So at this time, Without any further ado, I wish to offer a motion that ANC 6E support the community impact statement written on behalf of the Public Safety Committee by Mr. Martin Moulton, that was presented to me and reviewed by myself and the commission as relates to the sentencing of Andrew Allen, Keith Bobb, and Arnell Smith, who will be sentenced on tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Can I get a second? Ask for a second. Thank you.
I have just a question, Martin. In some of your correspondence yesterday and today, if we didn't have it in so many hours before the sentencing, were we able to bypass whatever it was that would be a conflict?
Yeah, the attorney sent it to the judge this morning, and I'm going to alert the court, and he's going to alert the court tomorrow that you guys voted on it this evening.
This evening,
So
okay.
that would give them even more emphasis. And as I said before, these guys intentionally shot innocent people just to scare the neighborhood. That was their statement. We're just going to shoot up Tyler House, no matter who's in front. And they're all innocent people who were shot.
I did offer a letter this morning, Marge.
And I'm seeing a letter. I just wanted to make sure it got in time.
Yeah, I offered a letter first thing this morning. Alex saw his copy of it, as well as Martin. That was offered as a chair of the Public Safety Committee since it was before we had the actual vote.
Right, so I just want to make sure that we were in a position where it was going to be accepted after. Okay.
Any further discussion on the part of the commission?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Andy's Carryout, 219 New York Avenue, Northwest.
Yep.
So, Abra renewal application.
Yeah, so Andy's, I walked over there, because I'm not sure I inherited this area with redistricting, and so I go over there and buy my chicken wings like everyone else and all that. But when I went out there, he is normally not there, and so when I went over there, there's a language barrier. And so I tried to explain why I was there, why they needed to come to me. No one's here from Andy's, clearly. Why we need to, I'm gonna suggest that I motion for that we do not support the renewal, because they're still selling some singles that sometimes it comes and it goes in Andy's. So, they're not quite used to a very active commissioner. So, but I've noticed that I wasn't gonna do anything until, of course, their license renewal came up, which is now. And so I dropped off it's now been days, I haven't heard back from Andy, so I'm not sure if the person relayed the information correctly. But I'll go back this weekend, and hopefully he'll be there. But till their license renewal comes up. So I'm gonna motion that ANC 6E they do not support the Class B liquor license renewal for Andy's at 209 New York Avenue, and I seek a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, I wanted
Some discussion.
Okay, so, and then once he understands, then I'll pull it back, so.
So, the grounds for protesting the license are violations of the single sales ban?
Correct.
So, has that been reported to Abra for enforcement?
Well, I've only seen on occasion, like, it comes and it goes with their case. So, and I'm not sure if I'm not honestly sure if they understand the regulations. Andy's has kind of been there for a very, very long time. I'm not sure if anyone really checks on them. It's not like it's but I just see it on occasion there. So I'm not sure if they're supplied. Now, what would affect it is because we have some guys hanging out there on occasion, and then they piss and poop around the corner by my constituent's home. So anything that adds to that, I would be against.
So the objective is to hopefully get a voluntary agreement
Correct,
that
yep.
can be enforced?
Up to date, yep. Oh, yep.
Because there is none in place, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think you want to move as quickly as possible to
Yeah.
try to do that, because when the board receives the protest and processes the protest, ultimately they can't accept it because it's not on the grounds of peace or quiet.
Correct, yes,
So-
that's fine.
so
Yeah, see, I
we
talked to Sarah
understand.
about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, further discussion on the part of the commission? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay. Moving on to Capital Crossing, 200, 300 blocks of Massachusetts Avenue Northwest. We've had presentations about the traffic impacts of the construction related to the bridges over the tunnel. This project is going to be spanning the Center Lake Freeway. And the property group partners, the developers, have asked to come back and update us on the project because there's another phase of construction that's beginning, so please
Thank
proceed.
you. Thank you very much. My name is Sean Cahill. I'm with Property Group Partners. I'm a Senior Vice President of Development, and we are the developer who is responsible for all of the construction that is taking place along Mass Avenue, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, and 8th Street since April. I'm going to lift up for you a map of the project, and I'm going to give you an orientation. North is up, so this is Mass Avenue. This is the project. This is currently an open cut highway that is depressed. This is Georgetown University Law School that is sitting here on 2nd Street. So this is 2nd, this is 3rd, 4th, Mass, and H. The development is slated to deck over top of the opening of the highway between Mass Avenue and E Street. So there'll be, F Street will be reconnected with a bridge open to vehicular traffic. G Street will be reconnected, but will only be open for pedestrian and bicycle traffic. We are taking the entry ramp away from 3rd Street and building a new entry ramp for southbound I-395 in the center of Mass Avenue, and the off-ramp at 2nd Street gets pushed slightly to the south and back into 2nd Street. That will act in very much the same manner that it does today. The project is approximately 2.2 million square feet, 1.9 million square feet of office, 65,000 square feet of retail, and 180,000 square feet of residential and or hotel. So all of the zoning and entitlements are in place. We are actually split between 2 wards, 2 and 6 on the east side, 2 on the west side. Obviously, in meeting with the Mount Vernon Triangle, what we wanted to do was try and keep everybody up to date as to where we are with construction. So for that, we are significant or substantially complete with phase 1. The areas in orange hatched are the areas that have been under construction since April. We were working basically 20 hours a day. About, I would say 8 or 10 weeks ago, we ceased with the night work through the night, work from 7 in the morning till 10. This work will be completed, the phase 1 work, on November 17th. It's about 16 weeks late. And part of that is because of the unforeseen conditions that we saw underground. Not much of it was Pepco. I see Pepco in the room, but and that and the fact of the change in the timing for construction. Phase 2 on November 18th, when you wake, will be in these areas. So basically, we've moved from the south side of Mass Avenue to the north side of Mass Avenue. This will be a large construction area here, and we're obviously still back in the Cobb Park area. The work zone times for this phase will be from 7 in the morning until 12 midnight. At 12 midnight, the crews will be cleaned up and out. The last hour or so is really kind of cleanup. It's not digging or jackhammering at those hours. It's really kind of the buttoning up of the site itself. This phase will take 6 to 8 months. Right now we are working almost 7 days a week, working on the weekends. This phase we like to pull back and not work on the Sundays, not be working at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. We would be working on Saturdays. If there is Sunday work, we would notify the residents that would be impacted, that would be taking place. So in a nutshell, that's kind of where we are. The other thing that we are going to be doing is by late December or early January, we will be down in the highway, and we will be starting foundations in the highway. But not much impact in terms of noise or impact on the surface traffic when that commences.
I've had a lot of, I'm sorry, Alex, can I?
Yes, please.
I've had a lot of dealings with the people in the Sonata
Yes, we just left
and
it.
Magical, which is not particularly my single member district, but they do all come to me. And they are outraged with construction until midnight. As well as Harold from the ANC too, we've met. These people cannot live with construction till midnight, 11 o'clock every night, every day. It's just ridiculous.
It's not every night, every day, it's 5 days a week.
5 days
So
a
to
week.
be-
If you
I'm
were
just
living in
I'm
those
just clarifying-
buildings,
I'm just
you would have
clarifying
a
what your statement is, that's all I'm trying to do.
Okay, 5 days a week. If you had to live in an apartment facing that construction till midnight, and then get expected to get up and go to work the next morning and be civil to everybody, you might have a different perspective. I know that Harold in the ANC on the other side of Mass Ave, and I have met about this. We are going to go to the city and we are going to be requesting that you not be allowed to do construction that late. That's just unfair to the people who live here.
Okay, and that, that's your prerogative. The construction will double or triple in its time frame. So in trying to get out of here in a 6-month period, we will be here probably a 15 or 18-month duration for the second phase. There are 6 phases to this project. I understand, we absolutely appreciate the complaints and the concerns. We just left the Sonata, and we are working with them as well as 300 Mass, and the residents at 400 Mass. We meet with everybody on a monthly basis. So there's a balance. And what we're trying to do is strike the balance. So, what our philosophy is to try and get in and get out as quickly as we can. To do that, we're extending the hours from 10:30 to 12 p.m. on the weeknights. It allows us 5 hours of continual work after the rush hour to be able to open up the street, do the work, close it back up. That's our philosophy, that's our thinking. We've worked with DDOT with that. We're happy to work with this ANC. We can't, there's no place for us to hide. So we're trying to be as transparent as we can. We're trying to get a balance.
I mean, most of these people have been living in a construction zone for 6 to 8 years. No
We've only
relief.
been under construction.
No
since
relief.